All right, welcome back to New Testament Survey. As we continue our discussion of the books of the New Testament, we're going to conclude our discussion of the book of Luke, Jesus as the Savior, the Son of Man, by looking at the key verses, key words, and some distinctive features of the book. The key verse, we've already looked at the verse itself, Luke 19:10, for the Son of Man has come to seek and to save that which was lost. This is kind of seen as Jesus's mission statement in the book of Luke, where Jesus says, "This is what I've come to do, to seek and to save that which was lost." Of course, realizing that mankind has a need, Jesus, the perfect man, can come and meet that need through his sacrifice on the cross. Of course, the purpose statement we've already looked at, also chapter 1, verses 1 through 4. Where Luke tells Theophilus, "This is why I wrote the book." All right, key words then. The word son, or the phrase "Son of Man," used 25 times throughout the book. A couple of things about this phrase, the Son of Man, is that number one, it is an Old Testament messianic title used in the book of Daniel to talk about the one who would come in glory in the clouds. He is the Son of Man who would come on the clouds and establish his kingdom on the earth. So it's a messianic title, but it's also a title that endeared him to human beings. Rather than going around calling himself the Son of God in public, instead he referred to himself as the Son of Man. These dual titles, Son of God, Son of Man, of course, dealing with the dual nature of his personhood, that he is all God and all man in one person, with two natures, one person. Note, to be contrasted with the Son of God, but rather, this is not to be contrasted with the Son of God, but rather indicates Christ as the perfect man who is representative of the whole human race. He is our representative. We see again Daniel and Psalm used as a messianic title here. The central idea then, Christ is the perfect man and the Savior for imperfect men. Distinctive features. First of all, we see as Dr. Luke is interested in medical matters. You can look up some of these verses, many of them dealing with various diseases and descriptions of those diseases, of what people had that Jesus was curing people of. The crucifixion itself, Luke, I keep calling him Paul here. Luke, a little more descriptive as to some of the things that were going on in the crucifixion. Again, there's a lot of medical issues that Luke deals with. Chapter 4, verse 38, and he arose and left the synagogue, entered Simon's house. Now Simon's mother-in-law was ill with a very high fever, and they appealed to him on her behalf. Instead of just simply saying she was ill, saying she had a very high fever, doctors would understand that that's a symptom of a bigger problem. Or chapter 7, verse 15, and the dead man sat up and began to speak. This would have been incredible for Dr. Luke to think about. The dead man sat up and began to speak. Much attention to detail concerning the virgin birth. Of course, again, Dr. Luke, that would have been a very important thing for him to try to wrap his mind around, the fact that a virgin could give birth. How does that happen? How is that possible? It's a gospel of song and praise. There are 4 beautiful songs that are recorded for us in the Gospel of Luke. The Song of Mary, sometimes called the Magnificat. There's the Song of Zechariah, in which he thanks God for John the Baptist. The Song of the Angels, praising God in the highest as they sing to the shepherds there, and the Song of Simeon as he praises God for the coming Messiah that he was allowed to see. It's a gospel of women and children. Over 49 times the word woman is used. Again, this would have been fascinating to Luke the doctor, that Jesus was concerned both for men and women, and that that there's equal standing between men and women at the foot of the cross. Talks about the infancy and childhood of Jesus. In fact, the only gospel that even speaks of Jesus's boyhood, his childhood, that he grew in stature, he grew in favor with God and in favor with men. The fact that Jesus is in fact a human being, a 100% fully human being, Again, fascinated Dr. Luke. Many miracles performed for both women and children. Again, here showing that Jesus is compassionate, Jesus is gentle, Jesus is meek. Would have kind of flown in the face of the Gentile image of the perfect man, which typically was seen as godlike and Apollo and the Greek gods and the demigods, Hercules and such, that would have been not necessarily interested in women, or if they would use and abuse women, and not interested in children at all. And yet Jesus was, and kind of really flips the script on what the perfect human being was. That Jesus is not only the perfect human being, the perfect man, but he's meek and he's mild, he's gentle, he's concerned about women and children. Much interest in the details of individual people, perhaps those whom he could have still interviewed. Note not much from John the Baptist or James and John, the sons of thunder, because John the Baptist died during Jesus's life. James, the first of the apostles to die. However, Peter and others would have been still available. James, the brother of Jesus, still in Jerusalem, would have been available for interviews from Luke. Special emphasis on prayer and the prayer-filled life of and Jesus' instruction about prayer. Parables, lots of parables in the Gospel of Luke. Most of the main parables that you think of the parable of the lost coin, the lost sheep, the prodigal son, all in the Gospel of Luke. 18 parables unique to his gospel, as compared to Matthew, which only has 10, Mark only has 1, John has no parables whatsoever. Many historians note historical notations. Again, Luke is looking right there in Luke chapter 1, verses 1 through 4. He says, I've set forward an orderly account. And he begins right away, chapter 1, verse 5, by giving a historical notation about the governor at the time, Quirinius, and Augustus being Caesar at the time, and all of that. So Luke helps more than any other writer to provide those historical benchmarks to know when the life of Christ took place. So the outline of the book, very easy. The Son of Man came to seek and to save. So here it is, the advent of the Son of Man, chapter 1 through 4. Popularity of the ministry of the Son of Man, chapter 4 through 9. Rejection and determination of the Son of Man. In fact, there's a turning point in the book of Luke where it says that Jesus turned his face in chapter 9, verse 51. I believe that's the verse there that says that he set his face toward Jerusalem, that he knew that he would be that he would have to face many trials, persecutions, and his own death in Jerusalem. So a turning point there. Lots of parables abound in that section. Of course, then the crucifixion and resurrection of the Son of Man. That's all we have for the Gospel of Luke. Look forward to seeing your discussions in the discussion boards this week.